So, despite the DOJ's last ditch effort to try to sabotage the final settlement approval of the Sitzer Burnett case, okay, the judge did approve it. Okay, it's done, right? It's done, or is it? Okay, or is it? All right, that's the big question, because the way that I see it, this thing is going to be lingering not just for months, but years, and maybe even decades, the way that this thing really looks. So, why is the DOJ so mad? That's my first question. How much did the homeowners actually get? The victims, how much did they get? Because the lawyers got a third of this $700 million. How much did the homeowners actually get? And what does this mean for your business? That's what I want to talk about in today's video. I'm Ricky Carruth, and this is your Wednesday real estate update. Hey, what's up? I hope you're doing super well. I hope you're crushing it this week. Before I get into the details of what's happening here, I want to share with you how weird this is really getting. I got this text from one of my agents who was listening in to the actual approval trial inside the courtroom. There was evidently a Zoom call that I didn't know about. I tried to find a replay of it. I couldn't find it anywhere, but there was an agent of mine that was listening in, and he texted me this. He said, I was listening in on the settlement decision today, and one of the attorneys was saying something about how buyers, okay, so buyers weren't included in this settlement. It was all sellers. The lawyer was talking about how buyers have been harmed through this settlement because they're not getting anything out of it. So they're not part of the settlement. And the lawyer's quote was, I want to make sure there's enough left on NAR's carcass to compensate the buyers who have been harmed. Okay. Like, he literally said NAR's carcass in court. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? I take offense to that, because I'm part of the I'm a member of the National Association. I consider myself part of NAR, and he's literally referring to the whole group as as their carcass, that he wants to make sure there's enough left on the bone to compensate buyers who have been harmed here. We know there's lawsuits concerning home buyers out there. I believe it's the Gibson case, so on and so forth. It really is incredibly weird. But my question is, my first question is, why is the DOJ so mad? So they put out this 5-page statement a couple of days ago. Actually, here's a statement right here. I read every single word of it. And you know what it says? It says, a much ado about nothing. It literally doesn't say anything. It just says, we're not really happy with this. We're not really happy with that. We're not really happy with buyers signing buyer agency agreements before the real estate agent shows them a house. It actually it doesn't help concerning competition. And it's like, okay, but how is that exactly? Can you spell it out a little bit for me? Because you're telling me a problem, but I can't fix it because you're not telling me why it's a problem. They don't really tell you why it's a problem. Tell me why so I can fix it. Outside of that, this was like a last-ditch effort to try to sabotage this final approval that happened yesterday. The judge did approve it, but not without just this lingering cloud over our heads as an industry. It's just like, man, give us some clarity so that we can move on. Now in the whole scheme of things, why is the DOJ so mad? I'll tell you why they're mad. This chart right here, boom, average buyer agent commissions haven't changed a bit since the changes were implemented. You can see here from Mike Del Preti's site, he does a fantastic job. Commissions were 2.6. Going into it, settlement announced is still 2.6. Changes implemented, still 2.6. I mean, at the end of the day, they want commissions to go down. We heard it from the DOJ. We heard it from the plaintiff's lawyer. Like, they're waiting, and they're like sitting back and waiting to rejoice whenever commissions go down. And I believe that they're doing that because they'll be able to say, we saved consumers money. But the real truth of it is, and why commissions haven't went down, they're not going to go down, they've always been negotiable. This is the market. And what they did was they thought that they were taking it out of some kind of control and giving it to the market, but they weren't. They were basically just leaving it in the market. They didn't realize that it was already the market's decision to pay what the commissions are. And what's even funnier is the sellers are still paying it. And the DOJ actually set it up to be that way. They came out, like a year ago, And they said that, this is a quote from the DOJ. They said that the buyers can put whatever they want the seller to take care of concerning commissions, concessions, whatever it is, in the purchase agreement when they make the offer. The DOJ literally created this environment where the purchasers can put that commission, what they want to pay their agent, in the purchase agreement for the seller to take care of. And guess what? The sellers are taking care of it. Why? Because they're focused on one thing, their net figure. And they always have, and they always will. And agents provide more value than they're paid for. And that's really the bottom punchline here that the plaintiffs' lawyers need to wrap their head around. The DOJ needs to wrap their head around that agents, buyer agents and seller agents, listing agents, they get paid less. I repeat, less than the value that they provide. You can't go down anymore. We're literally scraping bottom. This is the bottom of the barrel when it comes to how much a real estate agent can take in order to do their job. Buyers surveyed, 50% of buyers think that their agent worked 15 hours for them. 15. And in reality, and this is documented, worked 87 hours on average across 119 tasks. So if a buyer doesn't want to work with an agent, the agent should be happy that they get that 90 hours back that they can spend doing something just as productive or even more productive. And the buyer is welcome to go do the deal on their own. It saves us time, and we can go work with someone who actually, understands the process and is okay paying our fee, knowing that we provide more value than we're actually paid. And this is why I think the DOJ is so upset. They're sitting here looking at the data. And a lot of people are going to say, oh, it's still too early to know what direction commissions are going to go. And I believe that. I believe, let's look at it in a year and actually see where it is. And my prediction is it'll still be 2.6. It'll still be 2.6 unless it's influenced by more of a buyer's market, et cetera, et cetera. But even in a buyer's market, or I'm sorry, if we flip back to a seller's market, I think you'll see a dip down, but that won't be because of these rules that are implemented. That's because the normal ebb and flow of commissions between a seller's market and a buyer's market is what it is. And we're seeing not a lot, but we're seeing markets, there's a few markets now, and I think more are coming, that are switching from sellers markets to buyers markets. And it's slowly happening like dominoes across the country. And so, and I think that this slow market is here for a little while longer. Therefore, you're going to see commissions stay up. You're going to see commissions stay up. And I hate to tell the lawyers and everything, because they made a third of the $700 million, and they want to sit back and say, we did this, this is what we did, and here's the impact that we actually made. And right now, there's literally been zero impact. Sellers are still paying it by choice, negotiating it, just like they always have. And buyers agents are still making the same amount of money. Seller agents, listing agents are still making the same amount of money on a percentage basis. And I think what's going to happen is it's going to be a huge backfire in their face, because they're going to look back and say, you know what? Nothing changed. We did all that. The only thing that changed is our bank accounts. We made a third of $700 million plus whatever they make on future litigated cases, which is what you'll find in a minute they're excited about. So when we look at what happened here, the judge approves the $700 million in deals with NAR Home Services, and the last minute filing by the DOJ and a handful of objections failed to derail the settlements. And so that was very interesting. NAR's lead attorney said the association was fortunate to survive this. All right. The DOJ expressed concerns that the settlement could shield the defendants from future investigations, suggesting that the agency is not done looking into the real estate practices. Okay. Other cases remain open, including Gibson, which plaintiff attorney Michael Ketchmark said he is excited. This is in quotation marks, excited to continue litigating. Of course he is. So the bottom line is this $418 million settlement with the National Association of Realtors, plus an additional $30 million from brokerages and MLSs who opted into the deal, who were doing more than the $2 billion cutoff, account for nearly half of the total damage to be paid. Home Services of America was $250 million. Okay, so it was a 2-hour discussion in the courtroom. You had the judge, you had everybody else. The judge signed off on the settlements. Okay. The NAR attorney said he was happy about this, and happy the industry could kind of move forward and conduct business. Kevin Sears said this is an important movement for NAR members, home buyers, sellers, and the real estate industry. Catchmark, he said he was delighted with the outcome, calling it a long, hard-fought battle, and reflected on the verdict that led to the settlements. Just over a year ago, I sat there and looked at the jurors, and the jurors are the ones who ultimately deserve the credit for this. Chris Kelly, he's an executive vice president at Home Services America. He said this is a great milestone. Ongoing market dynamics continue to impact buyers and sellers. He said, by staying focused on solving these challenges, we aim to deliver unmatched value and opportunities for our clients and communities. So the DOJ wants to keep the door open. In its statement, the DOJ expressed concern about certain aspects of the settlement, highlighting two issues in particular: buyer agency, buyer agreement requirements. And again, they didn't say what the deal was or what their problem was with that. I'd love to know if they'd spell it out for me, what their problem is with it, and the possibility that defendants might try to use the settlement as a shield against future litigations. The DOJ attorney Chris Bauer asked the judge not to let the settlement serve as a shield, right? He said, how will we be able to determine if a practice is illegal if we can't investigate? Wasn't this the whole purpose of this whole settlement thing, was like that it was taking us away from being litigated against in basically the same capacity. And he also said that if the DOJ were to take further action, it should be able to choose the venue, right? But the judge there in Missouri, he said he asked why his court wasn't the most appropriate place. And then one of the other lawyers said the DOJ should not sue in some far-flung district. Anyway, taking issues with the buyer agreements. Again, they don't say. They just say it could limit competition. Okay, I mean, a buyer can back out of that at any time they want. Right? I'm trying to figure out like how it limits competition. I've thought of couple of different scenarios, but then as I think deeper, it's like none of this stuff really pans out. Like it just seems like they're just being incredibly picky. It's like, what do you want? Like you just tell us what you want, and then we will accommodate. Okay, we will accommodate. When you look at some of these rules, right? Because the plaintiffs, this is from the plaintiffs, they went on the record finally on November 20th here, and there were 5 things here that they said in this 137-page submission, okay, about the settlement. The first thing was realtors are not permitted to modify their buyer representation agreements upward to collect additional compensation. You can't write a buyer agency agreement for 2.5% and then increase it to 3%. Okay, that's what that says. Realtors are not permitted to collect seller-paid bonuses after they've already entered into a representation agreement with the buyer. Okay, so I assume that they're talking about like if somebody's given a $5,000 bonus. Okay, well, if you're getting a $5,000 bonus as a seller and I get an offer from a buyer and they're offering for me to pay, say, 3% of the purchase price, and that 3% equals, say, 20. What would that be? On a $300,000 house, around about 15 grand. So I could just not give the bonus and just agree to pay the 15 grand. Realtors are not permitted to use maximum ranges as far as, I guess, what they're getting paid. And it says, Georgia Association of Realtors, we're looking at you. Number 4, realtors are not permitted to craft property-specific agreements that are tailored to the rate of compensation offered by the seller. So you can't fill out an agreement and just put on there whatever the seller is offering. How does this make any sense? A so-called touring agreement must specify the amount of realtor compensation in the touring agreement itself. It cannot be supplemented by a full-service brokerage agreement at a different compensation rate after the fact. So you gotta show what you're going to be compensated. It cannot be supplemented by a full service, 2-3%. In short, engaging in these workarounds sets up a Sitzer Burnett 2.0. So they're basically saying that these are some of the workarounds that we're seeing out there, that we're hearing about, that we want to address. And engaging in these could set up another lawsuit. The most logical attorneys to prosecute violators are obviously class counsel themselves. Whether they'll do it is another question entirely, but it seems like this is the case that keeps on giving, and that's exactly what it is. They just keep coming back for more. If you want to look and see what the plaintiffs are actually going to make on this, as of November 14th, this is from BAM Media. As of November 14th, more than 490,000 claims have been filed, mostly online by plaintiffs' class members. Early projections on the payout per claim after attorney fees are over $900 per person, though that's likely to go down as more claims come in. So that was a lot more than I was thinking. I was thinking like 10, 20 bucks. But at the end of the day, after the lawyers take their third, you've got about 900, or a little more than $900 per plaintiff, but you still got more submissions happening, more stuff going on. It's not final or any of that stuff. Now, obviously, this is a legal cluster because this is such a complex matter when you look at national level, state level, local levels, all the different rules, the different states, everything is very super complex and really weird. That's really a good word for it, because on the outside, the general public, and I'm just going to fair to say, with all due respect, the jurors and the attorneys and all that stuff, it seems like everyone has an ulterior motive to what's happening here, and nobody's really taking into account the fact that agents are getting paid what the market is bearing. And so why are you even messing with that when there actually are price fixing issues out there, aka grocery stores, aka insurance companies? Whereas I cannot negotiate with an insurance company. I can get different quotes. Well, guess what? They're all about the same. And then if I want to get milk at a different place, like, I can't negotiate on eggs. Okay, not going to happen. So why are we not looking into these situations instead of an industry that literally is negotiable and you can literally negotiate? Anyway, what does this mean for your business and you? Please understand that this does not affect you. There's one objective for you as a real estate agent, and that's to expand your influence in the market. How do you do that? Talking to more people. Everything comes back to conversations. The only thing between you and all your goals and dreams are thousands of one-on-one conversations with people in your market. I saw a stat earlier this morning that around 70% of agents haven't even sold one single house this year. All right. And then only 2, 3, 4% have sold 10 houses or more. That is staggering, the amount of people that have their license that aren't doing anything with it. You took the effort to go out and get your license. Use it. Use real estate as a segue to creating the life that you actually want, because it is a great stepping stone for you to have the highest paying job in the world, to go out and reach your financial dreams and goals, and then move on to do exactly whatever it is that you want to do in your life. I'm doing my annual 2025 business planning session for real estate agents December 18th. I'll put a link in the description for that. And if you want to learn how to become one of the top 1% of real estate agents, just watch this video right here.